We're about to start the Ma'arab prayers along with the Chaadash readings. All right? Uh, young brother Zayathun will lead us in prayer. You can begin. So let's stand and face towards our land, our holy land, Jerusalem. Stand and face Jerusalem.
For the read evening prayers.
First prayer we'll be starting off with is Yahushua prayer. Abashamayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Alakwaka, Taba'a, Ratzaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kahaya, Bashamayim, Nathaniel, Lakam, Lakal, Yawam, Washalakanawa, Kabawaknawa, Kashalaknawa, Kabawakinawa, Wala'a, Zabianawa, Benasaya 1, Abel, Hawashinawa, Manrai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Wathapara, La'alunyam, Aman, Bashem, Yahushai, Hamashiach, Aman. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Bashem, Yahushai, Hamashiach. Amen.
Evening and morning and at noon, when I pray and cry loud, and he shall hear my voice. I will praise thee, for thou hast heard me, and art become my salvation. The stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. Yahushua Mashiach is the stone. This is Yahweh's doing, it is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day which Yahweh hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Say now, I beseech thee, Yahweh, Yahweh, I beseech thee. Say now, prosperity. Blessed be he that cometh in the name of Yahweh. We will bless you out of the house of Yahweh. Blessed be Yahushua Mashiach, who has come in the name of Yahweh. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that has passed into the heavens, Yahushua ben Yahweh, let us hold fast our profession. Wherefore Yahushua Mashiach is able to save them to the uttermost that come to Yahweh by him. Seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them, let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Bless you, Yahweh, our power, ruler, king of eternity, Yahweh Allah one, Allah Shaddai. Yahweh, please hear our voice and our prayers, that we fulfill the words. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. Know ye not that you are a temple of Yahweh, the Spirit of Yahweh dwelleth in you. As though we are not worthy, we need to offer ourselves anew to you as a temple, as a sacrifice, as a chosen generation, of royal priesthood and holy nation, of a peculiar people, that we should show forth your praises with cause our daughters to your marvelous light. Please accept us as lively stones which are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices, wholly acceptable to Yahweh, Allah, one, Allah, Shaddai, by Yahushua Mashiach, by Yahushua Mashiach, we offer the sacrifices of praise to Yahweh Trinity, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. A sacrifice of Yahweh, a broken spirit, a broken contrite heart, O Yahweh, thou wilt not despise. Please break my weakness and lead me beside the still waters. Cleanse and sanctify me with the washing of water by the word. We are sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahushua Hamashiach once for all. Let's draw near with a true heart and a full assurance, having our heart sprinkled from the evil conscience, our bodies washed in the water. I'll offer to thee the sacrifice of thanksgiving and call upon the name of Yahweh. Except I beseech thee the free will offerings in my mouth, O Yahweh, and teach me the judgments. Now my prayer be set before thee as incense. Bashem,
Yahushai, Hamashiach.
Amen.
Amen.
Hearken to me, ye holy children, and bud forth as the rose grown by the brook of the field. and give you a sweet savor as fragrance and flourish as lily. Send forth a smell and sing a song of praise. Bless Yahweh in all his works, magnify his name, and show forth his praises, and with the songs we lift and with harp and praise him. He saves through this manner. All the works of Yahweh are exceeding good, and whatsoever he commandeth shall be accomplished in due season. Wak Yahweh, Barak Olam Mu'ad. Blessed Yahweh, our Elohim, ruler of eternity, Yahweh, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens the gates, whose understanding changes the times and seasons, and orders the stars, their heavenly constellations, according to your will. He creates day and night, removing light from darkness and darkness before light. He causes days to pass and bring out night, and separate between day and between night. Yahweh forces his name, living and eternal, Elohim, ruler over us for all time. Mr. Yahweh, brings out the evening and night to give us a new day. Amen.
Amen.
With an eternal love, have you loved us, the house of your nation, to all commandments, decrees, and ordinances have you taught us. Therefore, Yahweh Elohim, upon their time and rising, we will discuss your decrees, and we will rejoice in the word of your Torah, and with your commandments for all eternity. For they are a life and length of our days, and about them we meditate day and night. May you not remove your love from us forever. Blessed are Yahweh, who loves his nation, Yeshua. Hail Yeshua, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh is one. Thou shalt love Yahweh Elohim with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. These words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently for thy children, shall talk with them, and thou sittest in thine house, when thou walkest by the way, and thou liest down, when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, then be as friends between thy eyes, that shall write them more doorposts for thine house and all thy gates. And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently to my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Yahweh your Elohim, to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, and I will give you the rain from your hand in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather thy corn, and thy wine, and thine oil, and also grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be filled. Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and ye should aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then Yahweh's wrath be kindled against you, and he said to the heavens that there be no rain, that the land is not fruit, unless you perish quickly from off the good land which Yahweh gives to you. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be a furnace between the eyes, and ye shall write them upon the doorposts of thy house and all thy gates. Their days may multiply in the days of your children, and the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers to give them the days of heaven upon the earth. For if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you to do them, love Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and cleave with him. Speak unto the children of Yeshua, and bid them that they make them fringes on the border of their garments throughout their generations, and they put upon the front of the border blue and blue, and it shall be unto you for fence, they may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of Yahweh, and do them. They seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go whoring, that you remember and do all my commandments and be holy, and you are Elohim. I am Yahweh, you are Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh, you are Elohim. Lies down to peace, Yahweh Elohim, raised up to life, our King, and spread over us the circle of your peace. And I write this with good advice before you, and save us for the sake of your name. And look out for us, and keep enemies, plagues, swords, famines, and troubles from our midst. And remove Satan from in front of us and from behind us, and create us in the shadow of your wings. For you, Yahweh, our gracious and merciful King, honor the portrait and our rival, life and peace from now and evermore. Blessed are Yahweh, who guards his people, Yeshua forever. Ash'a, Ayanya, Abahayim, Ma'ayan, Isaiah, Ma'ayim, Yahweh, Asha Shemaim, Watzada, the Ayathan, the Matugauka, the Ayat Mom, the Ayat Shansha, Moria Sha'ala, Yahweh Shemarka, Osmarka, Yahatzalka, Al Yadunka, Yamam Hashmash, the Ayaka, Wakbalayla, Yahaw Yasmarka, Wai, Yashmar after Pascha, Yahaw Yasmar, Utazaka, Wawakama, Aitha, Wa'ait Aulam. It is our duty to praise the Master of all, to ascribe greatness to the author of creation, who has not made us like beasts of lands, nor placed us like families of the earth, who has not made our country like theirs, nor blessed us like all their multitudes. For there was vanity and emptiness, and prayed to God cannot save. But we bow and worship and thank the supreme King of kings, and we want blessed be he who extended the heavens and established the earth, whose throne of glory is the heavens above, and whose proud presence is the highest heights. These are the heights, the risen weather. Truly, he is our king, the risen else. As it is written in his Torah, you shall know and take your heart this day, that Yahweh is the height, and the heavens above, and the earth below, the risen weather. Bashem, Yahushai, Mashiach, Aman. Hear me when I call, O Yahweh of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was distressed. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. O you sons of men, how long will you turn my glory to shame? How long will you love vanity and seek after least and say long? Know that Yahweh has set apart him that is godly from himself. Yahweh will hear when I call upon him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your heart upon your bed and be still, say law. Offer the sacrifice of righteousness. Put your trust in Yahweh. There be many that say, who shows me good? Yahweh, lift thou up the light recount thy countenance. Thou hast beguiled my heart more than the time that they're going thy wine increased. I'll both lay me down in peace to sleep. But thou, Yahweh, only makes me dwell in safety. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Akkad, Wahafta, Af Yahweh, Eloheika, Bakal Babka, Wamakan Pashka, Wabakal Ma'adka, Athakwan, Walathakar,
Athbanya, Aika, Wahapa, Araika, Kamauka, Anya Yahweh, Yahweh, Alihawika, Ashura, Awatiza, Afrika, Maratiza, Masizaya, Malaya, Dakum, La Daya, Laha, Ahayim, Akayim, Alpanya, La'af, Da'isha, Laka, Basal, Wala'af, Da'idam, La'af, Dalakwaka, Shum, Yahweh, Bashua, Zakah, Hayawam, Hashibah, Lakudashua, Labat, Abaka, Wa Amaka, La'af, Daratiza, La'af, Danaha, La'af, Dagana, La'af, Da'ina, Shakur, La'af, Dagamar, Kor, Ashura, La'raika.
Our prayers have ended. May Yahweh continue to bless and protect us in his everlasting mercy.
Bashem, Yahushai, Hamashiach,
Amen.
All right, Yeshabium, you seated. Okay. Ariashon, you can just help me with this reading. We'll be reading the Chaadash scriptures. Genesis, the first chapter and the 14 verses. Can you see? Right there.
Oh, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
So what we see is that the Most High in verse 14 created a form of light called the constellations. Okay, and these will be lights, and they also be used to tell seasons, times, and bring in convocations. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 16. And Elohim made two great lights. The greater lights rule the day, and the lesser lights rule the night. He made the stars also.
So we have three lights created in this scripture, verse 16. All right. We have the lesser light, a lesser light in the night, but it's also illuminating of light in the night. So we have stars, we have the moon, we have the sun. Okay, and that's verse 16. Verse 14, we see the illuminating constellations being created by the Most High in verse 14. Read 14 again.
Elohim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years."
Days and years, signs and seasons. Okay, a light illuminating in the nighttime as well as a light that illuminates during the daytime without the sun being present. Okay, go ahead. Verse 7, the next line.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 2 through 3. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the sixth day, Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made.
So, what we read in verse 16, the lesser light that rules the night is the moon, and the greater light that rules the day is the sun. 3 days later, which is the seventh day, the Most High rested from his work that he had created, the whole creation. He rested on that seventh day. So we see the weekly Sabbath was established on that seventh day, the seventh day of rest, all right, which was 3 days from the day in which was the fourth day, the day in which the moon was created. So for all those that are in the lunar Sabbath worship, why was there not 7 days added from the day that the moon was created? Why was there only 3 days added, making a full week, and then the Most High, the Creator, rested on that seventh day? Okay, so we see that the weekly Sabbath was established on the seventh day, 3 days from the fourth day of the moon being created. Go ahead.
Numbers chapter 8, verse 11 through 15. And in the beginnings of your months ye shall offer a burnt offering unto Yahweh, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot, and 3/10 deals of flour for a meat offering mingled with oil for 1 bullock, and 2/10 deals of flour for a meat offering mingled with oil for 1 ram, and a several tenth deal of flour mingled with oil for a meat offering unto 1 lamb, for a burnt offering of a sweet savor, a sacrifice made by fire unto Yahweh.
So we see the Most High establishing burnt offerings to be offered up to him on the day of Chaadash, the new moon, the beginning of a new month. So there was burnt offerings of lambs, 10 parts of wheat, flour mingled with oil, and wine being poured as burnt offerings offered up in smoke up to the Heavenly Father on the holy Chaadash, which is the new moon. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 14. And their drink offering shall be half an hin of wine unto a bullock, and the third part of an hin into a ram, and a fourth part of an hin into a lamb. This is the burnt offering of every month throughout the months of the year. And 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering unto Yahweh shall be offered, beside the continual burnt offering and his drink offering.
So the drink offering and the bullock being offered as the burnt offering, this is what the Most High demanded and to be created. All right, next portion.
First Samuel chapter 20, verse 5.
All right, 1 Samuel 20 and 5.
And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I shall not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the 3rd day at even.
So what do we see in this scripture? That David had foreknowledge of when the new moon was coming in, and that he knew that he had to hide himself from Saul, lest Saul would put him to death. So with prior knowledge, knowing the calculation when the new moon came in through the constellations, that's how Israel knew when the new moon was coming in, prior awareness of the constellations. All right, it wasn't by observation, it was by calculations. And then he went to hide himself in the field till the third day passed so he could not be sought out by Saul. All right, so he had prior knowledge of the new moon occurring, the holy Chaadash. Go ahead.
Psalm chapter 81, verse 1 through 4. Sing aloud unto Elohim our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Elohim of Jacob. Take a psalm, bring him the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on the solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Yashar'Allah, and a law for the Elohim of Jacob.
So who blew this? Who blew the trumpet? That was Joseph in the land of Egypt, for warning of the years of famine approaching. But this was blown on the new month, the Chaadash, all right, which was a covering, all right, when the sun lines up with the moon, all right, and you have a complete dark moon, all right, the inferior conjunction. Go ahead. Anything else?
Not for that one.
All right. Psalms 104.
Psalm chapter 104, verse 19. He appointed the moon for seasons, the sun knoweth is going down.
So he appointed the moon for seasons. Okay? The moon is perfect in its perfection, and it does what the Most High has ordained it to do. It has a complete cycle from complete darkness to complete illumination back to complete darkness, which occurs in about 29 to 30 days in a calendar month. All right? So this is how the cycle of the moon occurs. Continually. So every month coming in and every month going out, this is the cycle of the moon. And this is what we read, and where you read from?
Psalm 104, verse 19.
Psalms 104, verse 19. Go ahead. Oh. Yeah, come on.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1.
So the Apocrypha. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon, what chapter?
13, verse 1 and 2.
Verses 1 and 2. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. More information about the new moon, the holy Chaadash. Go ahead.
Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of Elohim, and cannot out of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the works that they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind, or the swift air, or the circle of stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven to be the gods which govern the world.
So, men in times past, ignorant of the Most High's creation, sought the creations of the Most High as gods, such as the stars, such as the clouds, such as the wind, such as the rain, such as trees, okay, such as the sun. This is what they were worshiping, all right? But they did not consider the workman the master of the creation, which was the Most High. Any more? Okay. All right. Or you can read from there. Okay. So where you going?
Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23.
Okay, Isaiah 66, verse 23.
Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh.
So from one new moon to another, from one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come and worship before the Heavenly Father. So the new moon is put in the same reverence as the weekly Shabbat. But the new moon occurs monthly, depending on the inferior conjunction, and then it is treated as a Shabbat, but you're allowed to cook on the new moon. Okay, so if it falls on the weekly Shabbat, you're able to prepare food, all right? But no buying and selling, no personal pleasure on the new moon. It's supposed to be treated as the same reverence as the weekly Shabbat. Go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 45, verse 17.
Ezekiel 45, verse 17.
And it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings and meat offerings and drink offerings in the feast and in the new moons and the Shabbats and all solemnities of the house of Yashar'Allah. He shall prepare the sin offering and the meat offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings to make reconciliation for the house of Yashar'Allah.
So this prince was referring to King Dawiyad, and he offered up these sacrifices, the burnt offerings, the meat offerings, the meal offerings, the drink offerings to the Most High with the priests at the temple on the holy convocations as they came up, and also on the new moons as they came up, the Kadashes. Okay.
Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1 through 3.
Okay, Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1 through 3.
Thus saith Yahweh, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Shabbat it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened, and the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, and shall stand by the post of the gate. And the priest shall offer his burnt offerings and his peace offerings, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until the evening. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before Yahweh in the Shabbats and in the new moons.
So the people shall worship at the gate of the temple before Yahweh on the new moons and on the weekly Shabbats and on the holy convocations. So that prince again is referring to King David, who offered up the burnt offerings and the wine and the drink offerings to the Most High on the new moons and on the weekly Shabbats. Where you at now?
Amos chapter 4, verse 1. No, Amos chapter 8, verse 4 and 5.
Okay, Amos, the 8th chapter, verses what?
4 and 5.
Verses 4 and 5.
Amos chapter 8, verse 4. Hear this, O ye that swallowed the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Shabbat, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit.
So, during that time, the merchants had enough respect, and the people had that much reverence to the law that they couldn't buy and sell on the weekly Shabbat nor on the new moons. But they were plotting and waiting for the new moon to end and the weekly Shabbat to end so they could falsify the balance and deceive the people in weights and measurement when they went to buy corn, wheat, or wine. All right? So this is a scripture that refers how the Most High will bring judgment against those wicked merchants that deceive the people in weights and measurements. And this scripture is used to demonstrate that the weekly Shabbat had the same reverence as the monthly Chaadash. No buying and selling. Okay, the only difference is that you could cook on the monthly Chaadash, but not on the weekly Shabbat. Go ahead. Both were considered holy convocations, high holy convocations to the Most High, so you can understand. One is the beginning of a new month, and one is the ending of the week, which is the weekly Shabbat. Go ahead.
That's the last one.
That's the last one?
Actually, there's 2 more, but they're in the Apocrypha.
Okay. Are they written out? All right, switch, turn over the page. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to read an article that demonstrates the difference between the Chaadash and the event of Yahweh's crucifixion.
Per Sextus Julius Africanus, noted ancient intellect historian that traveled with Septimius Severus in 195 AD to Osrhoene, and was also a scholar and librarian to the Severan emperor Marcus Aurelius Severus, Alexander Augustus, who built the Severus synagogue in Rome, placed there the Torah scroll stolen by Titus from Jerusalem in 70 AD. He was last emperor of the Severan dynasty, established by Septimius Severus. His librarian Africanus was born in Jerusalem and successfully petitioned the emperor to restore the Hebrew town Emmaus, where Yahushua ate and appeared to his disciples after the resurrection.
So who was the person?
Africanus.
Right, he petitioned the emperor to allow him to rebuild the Jewish place of worship. This town where Yahushua appeared before his disciples. What was the name of the town?
Emmaus.
Okay, continue.
Africanus, who was a black man, a follower of Yahushua, historian and royal librarian to the black emperor, testifies that the darkness that covered the land at the crucifixion from noon until 3 p.m. was not an eclipse, but a supernatural darkness caused by Yahweh, not nature.
So this was not the inferior conjunction that occurs during the new moon. This was a divine intervention by the Most High. Go ahead.
An eclipse of the sun takes place only when the moon comes under the sun, and it cannot happen at any other time, but in the interval between the first day of the new moon and the last of the old, that is, at their junction. How then should an eclipse be supposed to happen when the moon is almost diametrically opposite of the sun? Let opinion pass, however, let it carry the majority with it, and let this portion of the world be deemed an eclipse of the sun, like others important only to the eyes. Phlegon records that in the time of Tiberius Caesar, at full moon, there was a full eclipse of the sun from the 6th hour unto the 9th, manifestly that one of which we speak. But what has an eclipse in common with an earthquake, the rending rocks, and the resurrection of the dead?
So, what does the inferior conjunction have anything to do with an earthquake, rendering of rocks, buildings crumbling down, and the rising of the dead? So that lets you know that divine intervention occurred by the Most High that caused these other events and superseded any inferior conjunction or any eclipse normally that occurs once a month. So this was a divine event that occurred, which was duly noted by this historian and librarian. Go ahead.
And so great a perturbation throughout the universe, surely no such event as this is recorded for a long period.
Okay, so no other type of event of this magnitude has ever been recorded except for this event. So this lets you know that divine intervention, when Yahushua was crucified, all right, that's when the buildings were destroyed, the temple was destroyed, wrecked, and that's when the dead rose, and that's when you had earthquakes, okay, and volcanoes erupted also, all right? So that's the understanding of the Chaadash, which occurs once a month. Today's Chaadash is ending, all right? It started from last night at sundown and ended tonight for us at sundown. For a lot of you over in America, you'll be ending in a couple of hours from now. So with that, we thank you for coming out for the evening prayers and my Rob, and we can close out. Ya Barak Kam Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Hallelujah.
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 Down top of the Malwa, Sister Stan. Amadwa. Rock. It's more
Kam Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Hallelujah.
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 Talk dismissed.
Okay. The water for coming out. Shalom. Let's end.